of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, instructing the Knox County Ethics Committee to evaluate the Knox County Ethics and make recommendations regarding improvements, changes, or clarifications on or before November the 1st, 2007.
Okay, intergovernmental.
Intergovernmental voted 5-0-3-1, no recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee. 10-0. Motion to approve. Second by Commissioner who? Green. Any questions? Commissioner Lambert?
Guys, I just think this is a bad idea. I certainly think that our ethics policy needs to be clarified, but I think that needs to be done by commission. I don't believe that we need to have the ethics committee making their rules, which essentially, whatever they recommend, we're pretty much going to have to vote for, no matter what it is, because the pressure will be that if we, if the ethics committee recommends something and we don't go along with it, that we're unethical. And I just don't think it's ever a good idea to have a body make the rules and then enforce the rules. I certainly think that we need to revisit this and we need to clarify this, but it needs to be county commission that clarifies our ethics policy, or maybe a separate committee that we form of county commissioners. And I believe that we need to keep the ethics committee in their role as the enforcement and the hearing body.
Okay, Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Hammond had his light on first.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just, we appointed this group as the ethics committee, and we nominated them. And Mr. Lambert, you picked your pastor from these other people, and I think we need to stand by them and do what it says. I'm not afraid of it.
Okay, Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The law director has worked on some of those before, and I think that's where we ought to start. And I was just wondering whether we would include the fact that they would take a look at, to start with, what our law director has done, a review of this across the nation and come up with a recommendation, and that they would start with that. The same comment would be on the next one, 906, that the law department would be the proposal and have them react to it and bring it back. So that would be a clarification, and I don't know if they could be included or not, but I think that's just where you start with. I don't think it changes where it goes. It's just, rather than trying to cut it from whole cloth when he's already worked on it, I think we ought to start since he's advisor to that committee anyhow.
Okay. Before we get over to you, I'd like to make a substitute motion to ask the law director to study this for 30 or 60 days. I'll say 60 just to give him time. Check around the state, check with CTAS, check with other governments to see if they're having these problems or if they have clarified what their ethics policy is anywhere in the state of Tennessee, and then come back to this commission and report what you find. I think that's not this commission doing it, but certainly I think you have an obligation to find the truth and give us the facts. And I think that's if we want to clarify it. So I'd like to make that a substitute motion. I second. Second by Commissioner Lambert. You want to go first, or I'll start that in, Commissioner Henry?
Yes, I think, Mr. Chairman. The reason that I had put this on the agenda is, as those of us who have served on the ethics panel realize, that what we have is very vague. It needs clarification. We need to fully understand what the policy is. It's like if I'm going to play football, I want to know what the rules are. And so clarifying the rules is something that this policy needs and needs desperately, because we just read different things about, is it a violation? Is it not a violation? The way our policy reads now, it says, what would a reasonable person conclude? Well, I think we're all reasonable people up here, but all 19 of us might have a different idea of what reasonable is. But by clarifying the policy, it makes it clear what is a violation, what is not a violation. Mr. Law Director, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were quoted in the media saying that a violation of this policy was what the majority of the ethics panel said it was.
That's right. It takes 5 votes.
And so I frankly am not comfortable with that. I feel like that we need to know what the rules are, that if we can clarify those rules, that's in everyone's best interest, from this body to every elected official to every employee who is affected by this. I will say that I've talked with David Connor, who is the head of CTAS. He has offered to help us. He has offered to lend any assistance that we might need to help clarify and improve this policy. I've talked with Karen Eckelbracht, who is a professor at the University of Tennessee who teaches ethics. She has volunteered her time to work with us to lend any assistance that we might need. And I would just go back to something that Mr. Smith had said, and that is, we have appointed this ethics panel. I mean, these are people that we brought forward. These are citizens who, for the most part, have agreed to serve in this manner, and who I believe, for the most part, would be willing to do this. Now, Commissioner Lambert had mentioned to me in the hallway that he had talked with Ms. Tucker, and that Ms. Tucker had some reservations about it, and that's quite possible. I haven't talked with all 9 members, primarily because Mr. Owings told us that that might be a violation of the Sunshine Law at our very first meeting. But I do know that there are those on the panel who are willing to take on this responsibility if you so choose. And again, I would just point out that all we're asking through this recommendation is to bring this body a recommendation. You can do with it what you will. You can vote it up, you can vote it down, you can amend it, you can throw it away if you want to. All we're asking these people to do is to come and make a recommendation to us. Ms. Kim Waller is here, who is a member of the ethics panel, and she called and asked if it would be appropriate for her to speak on this, and if it's appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask her to speak at this time.
Okay, Kim, if you'll come on down to the podium, let me say a couple of things. Just probably 45 days ago, I tried to do exactly what you were talking about. You were quoted in June 19, the Knox and Loup Sentinel, saying we didn't need to do these 28 exemptions. And that was clarifying this. And I have the article if you want to see it.
There is a difference between exempting and clarifying and improving.
Well,
now, sir, you withdrew your motion, or you withdrew your resolution at the last meeting. You did not bring it before this body for discussion. I was prepared to discuss at that time. I was prepared to come in and make recommendations and some things that I had some issues with, but you withdrew that. And so when you withdrew it, it's very obvious that this policy needs to be looked at. And that was when I came with this proposal to allow these citizens an opportunity to come in, look at it, bring in people from outside, perhaps use Mr. Owings and his expertise, like Mr. Luthold has said, to do it. But let's come up with a policy that we can present to you that has been given quite a bit of thought from a lot of different people. But again, you withdrew it. You did not bring it to the floor for discussion.
But there were people in the media, and you being quoted, that I didn't want to bring something to this commission unless I felt that the commission wanted to deal with it. I think it's something that needed to be done, and I think we had some good clarifications, and it was pretty simple, and it was by a party outside of this government. You're talking about using David Connors. He works directly for commissioners in this state. I mean, we can make a vote to do away with him if you had enough support by commissioners in the state of Tennessee. So I think having him brought in is not using outside people.
He has just offered. We don't necessarily have to do that. But again, why did you not bring it to the floor for discussion? Because you had it here. I was prepared to deal with it. You voluntarily withdrew it at our last meeting.
Certainly did. But if you read the papers like I did,
well, I don't always.
Bad boys.
I don't always read the paper, but again, you know, if it's good policy or bad policy, it needs to be discussed regardless of what anybody thinks.
Well, and you made another observation that we appointed these people, and we certainly did, and I supported it. I didn't support them for any other thing than what we gave them the charge to do, and that was to investigate ethic violations. So to say that we gave these people broad powers, my vote certainly wasn't to give them anything other than what they were charged to deal with, and I appreciate all of them serving. But my concern is not only us, the elected officials, but also teachers. I mean, my daughter didn't graduate, but she got out of the 4th grade last year at A.J. Burnett at the end of the year. Certainly, is that an ethics violation for a teacher to accept a gift?
We don't know, and that's why we need it clarified. And this is why it would be good for a body of people such as this to take a look at it and bring recommendations here so that it is clarified.
I don't think it's this body's responsibility, but Kim, if you'll go ahead and give us your name and address for the